Alright guys, Hatchcramming again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The OpTic guys giving their reaction to Black Ops 7 so far. Mercules roasting Shotzzy in the process, but Scum talking about his optimism around the upcoming game, especially around the CDL season to come, but some concerns about some of these features in the game getting already GA'd by the pro players before the title is even out. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Just quickly from Joe, because 21 a couple of days ago, happy birthday to him yesterday actually, but just, you know, Toronto, what are they doing, right? Where are they going with their roster? We've got Toronto Ultra still as Toronto Ultra, but, you know, where's the rebrand? Is it going to happen? JoeDeceives is all over their Twitter header, which is pretty funny. Now, FaZe, they've locked in their rebrands, a controversial one to say the least. FaZe04 drops it yesterday, hashtag FaZe up, Simp's in the replies. 04's talking about getting our first chip already on the board. So there is lots of optimism, right? Like 04 is extremely confident, and, you know, well, he should be, I think, about the prospects of FaZe for the upcoming season. But of course, you know, you don't want to do too much talking before you hit the server. That might be the argument. But you can see here that they've done the full rebrand now. This is, again, the rebrand confuses me a little bit because this is how they've got FaZe written here, whereas in the rebrands they had FaZe written in a different way. But they do have the official rebrand now. They've got this as the logo, and it is what it is, right? So there you go. 04 is back. He's got the official FaZe affiliate. That's now officially locked in for the upcoming season. But let's talk about Black Ops 7, because lots of talk already yesterday as to what these things are going to be in the game that the pros are already going to ban, because there's been a lot to get our head around in terms of what BO7 is going to look like. The movement mechanics to me look pretty spectacular, but some of the features in the game itself, what do the pros think about them? Will some of these weapons actually make it through? We saw Zinni gave some thoughts yesterday on the M8A1. We know the M8 is returning, 4 rounds burst weapon. Look, we've seen it before, we've seen it a couple of times. The Swordfish, if you guys remember, was the 4-round burst gun in Black Ops 4, and it was good, it was probably kind of viable, but it was considered to be, well, I think it came under like the marksman rifle category or whatever it was. I don't think it was maybe technically an assault rifle, but whatever the case is, the last few titles, even Black Ops 6, the developers have tried to make a viable burst weapon to be used in competitive again. It's not happened yet for a couple of reasons. Well, one of the reasons I think is because the way Gunsmith works now, the most sensible thing to do as a pro is just choose the best full auto AR and stack it full of 1 million attachments to make it exactly how you want. Back in the day, there used to be some sort of compromise with what you could do with your weapons, but that's now effectively no longer the case. That's one piece of it. I think the other talking point around the M8 is around the fact that the 4-round burst is a 1 burst and it can kill immediately. Back in Black Ops 2, for example, the hit registration wasn't as good, wasn't as consistent, so you wouldn't always be slamming 1 burst. But to be fair, a game like Black Ops 3, if you hit 4 shots, you would very frequently get a very clean 1 burst with the M8, and it was a perfectly viable weapon that was well balanced with its other counterparts. There's been a feeling over the last few years that the 4-round burst, the ability to 1 burst and effectively kill an opponent immediately, the pros are like, oh, it's, you know, it's cheese, it's too strong or something. But I do think there's a chance the M8 gets considered for competitive. I'm convinced that the M8A1 from Black Ops 2 would have got GA'd with the pro crop of today, because it actually killed in 3 bullets point blank, which is pretty outrageous for a 4-round burst gun. It killed so fast point blank range compared to even SMGs. The BO3 M8 though, the M8A7 that was called, was actually particularly well balanced, and hopefully they echoed the same balance for this game. Is it going to matter with what the pros think? That is a good question. So a couple of clips I wanted to share here from Havoc, from Scump, and also, well, I will share the clip now, I think, this one between Mercules and Shotzzy. So here they are playing a bit of ping pong. This is just hilarious. I mean, Mercules seems to be pretty good at everything, right? Which is pretty funny, I think, in the first place. And what he talks about here with Shotzzy, I thought was pretty funny. And then Shotzzy at the end says, you know what? Just get me to Black Ops 7 and I will show this kid what's up.
Say, from everything that I just saw, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. And you know what? Even if the game isn't good, the CDL is still going to be fun to watch. So I'm hoping the game's good, obviously, because we're going to be playing it every day, and I don't want to lose my mind here. I'm hoping the game's good, but CDL will still be fun to watch. How do you think Specialists will work with the way Pro's been GAing everything? Are you asking, like, will Specialists be in competitive? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, dude, we got specialists coming back this year, and they throw on specialist bonus. I mean, it's going to be crazy, dude. We're going to have Grav Slam, probably, flamethrowers, camo. I mean, and then you get specialist on top of that, dude. People are going to literally be super soldiers. They're going to be super soldiers.
To rework or completely remove the shadow ban system, number one. And I want to say this for YouTube too. I really don't think that we should be supporting them any more than just getting the game. If you want to play the game, skins and shit, bro, boycott it, bro. If people are still getting shadow banned and they're obviously not cheating, they're just good at the game and getting reported, like, until they change that, bro, don't buy any skins, bro, please. I'm not going to be doing it. I encourage you guys not to do it. And then that's like my main concern, my main issue with Activision and the developers.
Great, strat.
Can't wait for Black Ops 7.
So Scum's talking about a few things here. Certainly on the specialist side, this needs further clarification and diving into, because the game is, well, let's just say the expectations for the game in terms of the way that they might use specialist are a little bit different to how it's actually going to be, we understand, in reality. So let's just have a look at the deep dive here, again, that they run through. So specialists are not a thing in the way that they were BO3, Infinite Warfare, BO4, when you chose your character, that character had a couple of special abilities that would then charge up over time. Specialist is a thing in the sense that you get all the perks if you go on a kill streak, right? That's not necessarily changed, and it is all a bit complicated in terms of the terminology here, because we then have combat specialties. So what this is if you pick a couple of perks from certain, what are considered in certain categories, then you are given a specialty, which then gives you extra benefits, basically. So you've got specialists, but kind of not really. You've got specialists with a T, and then you've got specialties. So there's kind of a lot happening here, to be honest. But anyway, these are the specialties. What Scump's really getting at is the wild card in Specialist, as you guys can see here on the right, which in the traditional way from Modern Warfare 3 or whatever it was way back in the day, Specialist enables you to replace your score streaks and the 3 additional perks you get, and if you get to 1200 score, you get all remaining eligible perks. So, and there's a lot of good perks, right? So the idea of unlocking more Specialist perks through Specialists will pretty much make the players into super soldiers to a certain extent. I think that a lot of the players are going to go down this route of choosing Specialist and using that over score streaks if they don't GA it, which they might. But I do want things to be quite well balanced where score streaks could also be viable. Now, what Kenny was talking about yesterday was the fact that what we might consider to be some of the traditional specialist abilities, like we saw in Black Ops 3, for example, are going to be in the game, but as a field upgrade. So you can see that we've got trophy systems, we've got black hats, which I loved from back in the day, you know, assault packs, all the classics, but included in there is active camo, which allows you to become partially invisible for a short period of time. Now, what's interesting is they've also got variations on these. You can add what they call an overclock. It's kind of like if you guys remember Advanced Warfare, the kill streaks in that game, you could like basically edit them. For example, UAV, you could add extra time for a few extra points, whatever it was. So there's a couple of overclock changes you can make. Gunfire reveals you temporarily instead of ending the ability. So, you know, what it's like in Halo, for example. And then the other overclock just makes it longer, it charges faster, this type of stuff. So active camo is going to be a field upgrade, which is interesting for sure. So specialists like active camo, because when we saw active camo in the initial trailers, we were thinking, okay, specialists must be back, right? Because that's what camo was. But instead, it's going to be a field upgrade. Now, do I want other specialist abilities that we used to have returning in a similar way? I think that's absolutely an interesting idea. The concern from the pros would be that what if everyone is running camo? That would be a problem, right? Now, I get that, but also trophies are a field upgrade. You can't run both. So some players will need to run trophies. So I don't think this is going to be too much of an issue to have camo on like one of the players. Probably the pros will look to GA it, but we'll see what actually happens, because I think they could add other things in here. There's all sorts of glamorization around the, let's say, lethal specialist abilities. We're talking the Tempest, the Scythe, the Annihilator, right? Things like that, the Gravity Slam as well, famously from Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3. Those things could come back, I think, as kill streaks. That's, I think, how I would do it, because it doesn't seem like Treyarch want to do the whole choose your character again. They've got this other specialty thing where based on the perks you choose, you kind of become a certain role, which is, you know, maybe an interesting way to do something similar. But I think the idea of specialist abilities does add something to the game, and this is maybe the way to do it. For example, Glitch, right, from Black Ops 3, loved it. I mean, I'm going to talk about Black Ops 3 a lot here and over the coming weeks, I'm sure, and I'm not going to complain one bit. And then let's say the FTL jump, just to use one from Infinite Warfare, or other specialist abilities that you guys will know and love. They could just be field upgrades, and different players will have different preferences of what they want to use, and they will charge over time. Now, the crucial thing about this is that field upgrades charge up historically relatively quickly, in the same way to how specialist abilities used to do back in the day as well. Now, they did make some changes there, because in Black Ops 3, you guys might remember, they would kill the bomb diffuser and then wait around for 30 seconds before defusing the bomb, so their specialist would charge up a little bit more, which was kind of cheese. So in Black Ops 4, I think they eventually changed that, so the specialist only charged up with score, but of course it didn't reset through death in the same way that a score streak typically would. So the field upgrades will have to be balanced in terms of how frequently you get it, what the charge time is, and ideally it would only charge with score rather than with time, so it prevents people just standing around so they can get their camo for the next round, which is something to think about. But I would consider throwing quite a few of these old specialist abilities in this, because if they're putting active camo in there to make you go invisible, absolutely there should be some other options too. And then probably 2 of the players on the team are using trophies, and 2 of the players on the team are going to use one of these effectively a specialist ability. Now, I guess the other part of the question is, as Scump was talking about flamethrowers, gravity slam and all this, could that come back in a different way? Should that just be a score streak? Because that would potentially be the solution, right? Because if we go through the score streaks, you'll find that there is indeed in here somewhere or other let me keep scrolling down, a hand cannon, right? So this is the Annihilator effectively, right? Large caliber handgun, presumably 1 shot, 1 kill. There's a couple of overclocks, and we'll see how that works out in due course. But effectively, we don't know the score on this yet, what you need to get it, but this is the Annihilator, right? So what I would do is I would take a number of the specialists that we've had in the past, the lethal ones, and just make them kill streaks, right? Just make them score streaks. The players can then decide, okay, do I want to use specialist and get all the perks, or do I want to throw on one of the effectively score streaks, which used to be a specialist ability? You could also think about having them all as the same score. So maybe the Annihilator is a bit too strong to be like the Grav Slam, but maybe whatever the Annihilator is, or the hand cannon as it's getting called here, maybe you have exactly the same score as, I don't know, the Gravity Slam or something. You'd have to balance them to make sure they're about right. But my point is that it would mean that players could only choose one, rather than having like 3 kill streaks all kind of the same score that are all specialist abilities and they would unlock them all at once. That feels like a bit cheese. So, I think this is one way to look at it. But I think in general, I'm quite happy with this implementation, right? There's not going to be all the chaos of all the kill streaks and, all the specialist abilities that we've had in the past, but some of the features will still be there. And I think Scump's right to say, look, the game will still be, even if it's not great, it will be entertaining to watch on a competitive perspective, largely for reasons such as this. So in truth, your thoughts in the comments. Look, these tweets, as far as I understand, are trolls for now, but of course things might change. Shotzzy I don't think has even been live over the last few days, but there's been some talk about, is the M8 already going to get GA'd? Are the pros going to get rid of it? Of course, we also know that the tactical sprints, there's a perk that allows you to tack sprints. Again, that's a bit of an issue when it comes to specialists and stuff, having players getting specialist, unlocking tactical sprint, and I don't know, it's going to be a little bit complicated to manage. The pros are going to think about GAing stuff, but again, can they GA the tack sprints perk if they're going to use specialists? And if they go on a run, they get all the perks, they get to use tack sprint for guarantee, right? So how are they going to manage that? Ideally, they don't manage it at all, and we play the game pretty much as it is without claymores. That's my general opinion on how to play competitive COD. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.